So I originally intended for my next video to be some further thoughts that I had regarding the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, because woo laddie, that looked awful. I wanted to talk about my thoughts on the design that they went with, how it looked absolutely horrible, how crunch time was going to be put on the animators with announcement that they were going to redesign Sonic into something more appealing, the aftermath following that, the fact that the release date got pushed back to Valentine's Day next year as opposed to Caitlin's birthday this year. But considering that I'm going to be going back to Tumblr, or I am back on Tumblr if you're watching this there, I just figured that I'd do this video first since there's a lot more to the hiatus than just, me announcing that I was going on hiatus. So I'm just going to go through a quick rundown, and before I begin, I just want to apologize for two things. One, this is unscripted, so if things seem a bit disjointed, then you know why. Second thing, I'm doing this as a video because I don't know what limit Tumblr is going to put me on in terms of text limit, and I could have done it as a huge wall of text with a read more link, that way it wouldn't hog everyone's dash space, but with a video, I can talk for as long as I need to and still cover everything that I needed to. So, without further ado, those of you who might recall, back in January of this year, I decided to take a partial hiatus from my main Tumblr blog and a full-on hiatus from my RP blog. And that should have been the end of it, right? The partial hiatus on my main blog was going to be restricted to, I would only access it on weekends as a way to de-stress from work. Well, February 8th, I ended up turning that into a full-on hiatus from Tumblr altogether. It was unannounced, but you get the point. And that's also because there was a lot of stuff going on in the background. Now, the original intent behind me going on Tumblr hiatus was so I could fix up my GPA. I was on academic probation at the time, and I needed to fix my GPA, otherwise I was gonna get kicked out of university. I'm not gonna say where I'm going to school, all I'm gonna say is Wyoming. And it should have been as simple as that, but I was also dealing with some other stuff in the background. Those of you who have followed me for quite a while may recall that I was complaining of being just completely mentally exhausted. And I don't know exactly where this exhaustion came from. For one, I was dealing with academic burnout from the fall semester. In fact, toward the end of that semester, I just had zero interest in school. I just couldn't keep with it. I could not focus whatsoever. Not helping was I absolutely abhorred some of my classes because it wasn't being explained properly, but I digress. I was also dealing with some familial trouble, mostly my mom completely getting on my case. I was also dealing with some major creative burnout. I wanted to draw. I had all this stuff that I wanted to draw, but just not enough time where it seemed appropriate, and that just frustrated me to no end. I could think about the stuff that I wanted to draw all the time, but it was just so frustrating because I couldn't put it on paper. And then the biggest one, work. All I'm going to say is I work at a major retailer corporation. And at the time, I was a cashier. I had been a cashier for almost 3 years at that point, and I was beginning to absolutely hate it, if I hadn't already. In fact, by the time that I switched departments, more on that later, I absolutely hated cashiering. It's just dealing with people non-stop, 8 hours a day, a lot of them stupid, and when it gets really busy, I end up going into autopilot mode. Now, when I go into autopilot, I stop talking altogether and just rewire all my energy to scanning everything as quickly as possible, packing everything into bags as efficiently as possible, just trying to get everyone through the line as quickly as possible so they could get back to their lives. And this is not something that you should do when you're in retail, apparently. Look, I didn't mean to come off as rude when I did not talk to people, but it got to the point where I did not want to talk to anyone because it would just interfere with my job. I just wanted to get it done as soon as possible. And I was so stressed out from it to the point where I was having an emotional and mental breakdown every weekend that I worked, if not every single day that I worked. That is not good. On the job aspect, I tried to look for something entirely different. I tried to take up an offer for housekeeping at a local hotel, and I thought to myself, you know what, I can deal with the cut in pay if it meant that I do not have to be around people ever again, because I'm not sure if anyone has really noticed this, but I get publicked out very quickly. Like, I cannot interact socially for extended periods of time. It stresses me out to no end. I need to recover from it. I just become mentally, physically, all kinds of exhausted from being around people. Social exhaustion, let's call it that. But when I told my mom that I was going to seek employment elsewhere because I could not stand the stress, I told her where I was going to work. She of course asked what my pay rate was going to be. I told her, and she just completely flipped her shit. It's just, you cannot live on $400 a month. And because I was completely out of sorts, I ended up, canceling that because, I really needed the money. I canceled that opportunity. I canceled my 2 weeks notice. Basically, I was just left suffering. And the thing is, I had told my supervisors before that I was stressed out from cashiering, and it was only at this point in March that they finally realized, oh shit, she was not kidding. All the while, I was having anxiety attacks over school. Over whether or not I was going to get credit on something that I turned in late, whether or not I was doing the exercises correctly, whether or not the information was staying with me. It stressed me out to no end. I even told them that I could not continue cashiering because of my school. Thank God I got moved to a different department. And in this case, it was unloading freight in the back room, stocking stuff on the shelves. I mean, it still requires me to deal with people, but it's not on the same frequency level as cashiering. Which is good for me considering, I can't stand people for very long. So, at least there's that. But at the same time, I also felt kind of lonely. My inspiration and motivation to draw things just completely evaporated. In fact, the last thing that I put out related to Cuphead was a video for my headcanon voices of my OCs. As for Cuphead, since we're on that subject, I had so much that I wanted to do. In fact, I'm even going to talk about my backlog later. But I had so many comics that I needed to get caught up with. I had RPs that I had to get caught up with. But my inspiration completely evaporated. It just completely dried out. But we're not talking about in the sense that, the water table shifted so far down that the well went dry. No, we're talking about that, and then on top of that, the pump itself burnt out because no one bothered to turn it off. I was just completely creatively burnt out. And then something interesting happened, and I do not regret it at all. What happened was, and I'm not sure if this is a glitch, but Mellowfellow VA on YouTube left a comment on that Headcanon Voices video inviting me over to his Discord server. I couldn't find the comment anywhere, and so I just decided, well, I might as well join the server, see if it was for real. And admittedly, I was a little bit nervous / excited going in because I really look up to this guy. If you haven't checked out Mello already, I highly recommend it. He does a lot of comic dubs. He just does amazing voice work. Just check him out, please. Anyway, I joined the Discord server. Turned out it was for real, and I have no regrets joining that server. I made a lot of friends on there, including Mello himself, Glitchfang, Gamer Girl Rebel, Supersonic 1022, Colin, and just so many others. In fact, I would even consider these guys family, which is what that one speed paint video was about. In fact, it seemed like things were actually going to start looking up. The aforementioned change in departments was pretty good. I actually got some of my creative motivation back. It's still coming back a little ways, but everything just seems to be on the up and up. I did have a major anxiety attack around finals. The pre-finals week, and then finals week, and then that dreaded waiting period, just trying to see whether or not I failed my classes or whether I passed everything with a C or higher. Because I have to have a C or higher in order to have any of that count toward my credits in my degree. For those of you who don't know, I'm a geology major, or at least it's listed as my program is Bachelor's of Science in Geology and Geophysics. If that sounded alien to you, that means I study rocks and the earth, and it's quite interesting and a lot of fun. But at least it gave me some time to recharge. In fact, now that I'm back from Comic-Con, I'm returning to Tumblr proper. But even that has come with some weird things that I'm not sure how to deal with. I guess I better get the obvious out of the way. I have a major backlog of stuff that I need to work on. Whether it's comics, RPs, you name it. In fact, I even told people that I have active open commissions on that it's going to take me a while. I'm in school, so just kind of bear with me, and they've been pretty understanding for the most part. However, the RPs is kinda weird territory. Now, I am going to prioritize the RP responses because, I just left the other party hanging for way too long. In fact, first up on the list is going to be the one with Crafty Jellyfish Cat, since that's the one that I am near completion on. I just have to do the pencil shading and whatnot, all that grayscale to give it that great film noir look. Second on the list is going to be Ninja Haku 21. Ironically enough, I actually started my response to that RP that we were doing among our characters. It's just that the aforementioned stress from the summer kind of just chewed me up and spit me out on that. And I really look up to this gal. So it's going to be a little bit of I better do this, I'm trying not to run and hide kind of thing. In fact, that's really what I don't like about myself, is whenever I get a huge project and it's coming up on crunch time, or I haven't checked in with my friends in so long, that I have a horrible tendency to avoid them. I know that's not going to help, but it's just something I can't control. It's something that I actually want to work on this summer. Anyway, hers is going to be next. I have a rough draft written of how I want this response to go, but also in the meantime, she's moved a lot of her characters out of the Cuphead canon. In fact, it just seems like everyone's been doing that. Like, if you had a character that was in the Cuphead fan continuity, suddenly everyone's moving that out as the fandom just seems to be dying. That's just one of the frustrating things about this game. I've had some pretty good experiences in the fandom, but we're all just kind of moving it away from it. I mean, the DLC is going to be the last hurrah for it, and then yeah. But anyway, I really don't like the fact that I've kept Ninja hanging for that long on an RP response. I don't like the fact that I've kept anyone hanging for this long on an RP response. But, of course, it's life. What are you gonna do? So, back to what I was saying. In order, RP responses are gonna take top priority, starting with Crafty Jellyfish Cat, since that one is the closest to completion, followed by Ninja Haku 21, and then Elemental God AJ. Now, earlier I mentioned that a lot of people in the fandom have been moving their characters out of the Cuphead fanon. I am, well, let's just say that I'm also doing that with some of my characters, but this is only going to apply for Montana Davy, Cheyenne Jane, and Dakota. Reason being is, if I can move those guys into something original, then at least I'll have something to fall back on. In fact, if you guys are interested in seeing those particular adventures, you can always throw me a couple bucks on Ko-fi to help support me. You can always check it out when I get that page up and running. But considering that Montana and the rest of the Inkwell Prairie trio haven't exactly had much to do in the fanon continuity, it's safe to say that those are the ones that'll be easiest to move out. In fact, I regret not doing much with them, but that's just the frustrating thing about being an artist who's going for a non-art degree and, you know, also working on the side. It's just frustrating. Claire, I plan on keeping in the Cuphead continuity along with Alston and Percy and Edith and, you know, just Lynn Manor in general. Lucius and Boss English I'm gonna keep in the Cuphead continuity. In fact, also on my list, I do plan on checking out Adventures of Moonlight City, which is what Ninja moved her characters to. It's gonna take me a while to get caught up on it. I guess to the point of intimidation, but that's something that I want to work on this summer. I'm gonna work on that this summer, just not getting so intimidated by workloads. And in addition, I also plan on working on another project that came to mind back when I got on my Sonic fix. I mean, if we're gonna talk about the Sonic movie trailer, for some weird reason, that put me back on a Sonic fix, and I'll give it credit for that. I played Lost World, and it's actually pretty decent. I don't like the fact that the final world is just a series of boss rushes, and I don't quite particularly like the Wisp power-ups, but what can you do? And as a result, that made me want to go back to a project that I haven't even touched in 3 years, which was when my sister moved out and, you know, moved in with my dad after graduating high school. I just worked on this project in particular as a coping mechanism. let's see here. I also plan on doing a couple more speed paints, and of course some more review videos if I can get around to them. I mean, I should have time to get around to them. But for the most part, RPs and any commissions that I left hanging are going to take top priority. In fact, commissions are still open. In fact, I can put down a couple slots. The clients that are active with me, they're actually pretty understanding that, you know, I'm in school. It's a pain in the ass to find the time to work on things. I also have a part-time job, which makes it even more of a pain in the ass to work on things. But for the most part, that's why I wanted to make this video now and not any other time. I wanted to let you guys know exactly what was going on, and also, you know, just kind of a forecast of some things that I wanted to work on, whether they be projects or some personal habits that I either want to improve or really, really want to kick. Also, you know, just in general, letting you guys know how stressed out I was and why the Tumblr hiatus went from fully fledged, well, rather, went from partial on my main account to just full on, with barely any announcement to it. Hopefully the summer is pretty plentiful in progress on my projects. Thank you guys so much for sticking around this long on the video. I know it's kind of a long one to sit through, even by my standards, but I felt like if I didn't go into depth, then it was just going to be a series of things. So, thank you for watching and sitting through this update. If you want to, you can hit the subscribe button and the bell on my YouTube channel. That way you can get alerted to new videos when they come out. You can follow me on Tumblr if you like some of my artwork. In fact, I think I'm just gonna make a separate Tumblr page altogether for the Inkwell Prairie Trio stuff. In fact, I'm not even sure what I'm going to call the new location that I'm moving them to, since it's not going to be in Inkwell anymore. I also plan on doing some animatics, since I should have the time for it this summer. And I'm also going to make an entirely new Tumblr blog for this project that I want to work on that I haven't worked on in 3 years. In fact, it's kind of foreshadowed in this video right here, if that Sonic character isn't any indication. Anyway, I highly thank you guys for bearing with me as long as you have, both throughout this video and the nearly 110, well, more than 110 days of Tumblr hiatus. I do plan on getting right back to these projects as soon as possible. I think what I really needed was a period of recharge. So, now that we got that out of the way, I'll see you guys later, and, well, we're just gonna go from there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.